Hi, I'm Reverend Cindy Pincus, and I'm leading a course called How to Lead Ceremony. And this is what we will be talking about in Module 6, which is Wise Business Clean Practice. So this is all the practical stuff around ceremony. And the reason I've included this module is because I've met a lot of people who can run a really good ceremony, but who don't have like the supportive structure around their work, which you may call business, you may call, structure, you may call support, whatever it is, and it like detracts power from their ceremony. So I want you to have powerful ceremonies, and so a big part of what I'll be teaching in this module is how to set up wise structures around your practice. So I call this the chop wood, carry water of a spiritually grounded ceremony, and in particular, just keeping yourself grounded in reality while you're doing ceremonies of like, do we need food in this space? Let's make sure we have the running water or water for people to drink. Is the heating working? Is the AC working? Do I have a clear way for folks to pay me or for our reciprocity trade to happen? Is that clear for people? Are the other facilitators taken care of? Do I have clear agreements with them about, how they might get paid? Or, am I taking good care of my medicine if you're a medicine carrier outside of the space? How am I protecting that and keeping that in good spiritual shape? We'll also talk about identifying spiritual bypassing, both in your business and financial structures. There's all kinds of ways to build business and financial structures. I don't recommend, do what you love and the money will follow, like it'll take care of itself. Like spirit will take care of you, and make sure that you're really clear on what your business practices are, and this can be a really touchy area for spiritual practitioners because there's a deep picture, deep programming that spirituality and financial awareness don't go together, or you're not truly a spiritual person if you're worried about the money. But I'll say, I have a whole teaching on this. The body is spiritual. Our safety is spiritual. We are spirits who've chosen to come into these bodies that need care, medical care, dental care, food, water. And so I'm going to talk a lot about how to marry the practicalities of the financial part of running a ceremony with the spiritual aspect. Even if you're doing like a wedding for your friends or officiating a funeral, even professional ministers charge for that kind of stuff because it's like, hey, I'm giving this time of my body to create this ceremony for you, so my body is going to need something to take care of it in exchange for these hours. So we'll just talk about getting clear on that exchange, whether that's like, I'm charging through Eventbrite, you pay me through Venmo, we do a trade in kind, you can make an offering to me, maybe you'll offer a little gift or something, but let's get clear on that beforehand, because I've never seen like ceremonies go more sideways when folks don't have clarity on their business practices or how their agreements are. So we'll definitely talk about that. I'll talk about the way I've put it in my notes is balancing priceless work and your earthly needs. They're the same kind of needs, and your earthly needs are as valuable as your priceless spiritual work. So we'll talk about, I'll have some suggestions for price structuring and financially accessible ceremonies. Because, if you're interested in this course, you know that the priceless work of ceremony can be made available to folks who may not at that time have financial resources that you need. Or for example, when I started doing ceremony work, I didn't always have the financial resources to fully pay practitioners I worked with. But, we could work something out so that they felt fully honored for their work and I got the benefit of their work so that I could build up, my spiritual well-being, my financial well-being to the point where now, I can work with other people on that same basis. So, we're helping each other along, and it's really important every step of the way that your reciprocity is full, that it's like, it's just really important to pay attention to. So we'll talk about ways that you can make financially accessible structures available to folks of different walks of life and what reason you're offering it to them. We'll talk a little bit about marketing, which is really just, speaking out loud what it is that you do, how you put yourself out there. I call it getting right sized. You want to be your full size when you talk about your ceremonies. This goes all the way back to module 1, where, you got to be full of power when you do your ceremonies. And so let's talk about how do we speak about the spiritual work we do, clear and specific communication that honors your ceremonies, yourself, and your participants. All important to speak clearly about that. We'll talk about competitors, feeling inspired by competitors and being open to collaboration. Ceremonies, a very trendy topic these days. It seems like everyone's running a ceremony. So how do we do it together? Competition is kind of like a first world thing, a scarcity thing, a US American thing. So how do we bring in the spirit of collaboration and the true belief system in abundance that there's enough for all? We could all work for each other, promote each other, co-facilitate with each other. And all build that abundance and that success. That's the true heart of what ceremony is opening up what I call the kingdom of God, the reign of heaven, the place where there is more than enough for all. So how do we build that into our business practices in practical and useful ways? I'll also talk about separating from difficult personalities and letting go of fixing people. So this is another thing that I'll see tank a ceremony is people say, it's open for everyone, it's for everyone. And there may be ceremonies like that, and we'll talk about designing a container specifically for that. And I fired people from my ceremonies because I'm like, this isn't the right work for you. Either A, I'm putting you at risk of a mental health crisis or some kind of emotional or spiritual harm, or there's other work that's important for you to do before you come to ceremony, especially if medicines are involved. There's a good do no harm ethos, and there's a good this ceremony work is for people who are ready to be here, present, conscious, and engaged, allowing for whatever limitations that a person might have up to a point, and then at a certain point, disruptive personalities have got to go because you need to prioritize your ceremony. So we'll talk about that. And then finally, there's huge power in taking full responsibility for every aspect of your ceremony practice. This is everything from the emails and messaging you send, what you do with the money you make from ceremony, how you spend it, how you honor it. What does the back end of your website look like? Do you have a website? Do you want one? How do you show up in the world when you're just going to the grocery store? What it means to take full responsibility or have the ability to respond to your life as a ceremonial practitioner. So all that and more, I hope you will join me for our course, How to Lead Ceremony.